see shoes from the Holocaust. There are children's shoes, women's shoes, and you see a lot of heels and stuff, and it really shows that these people didn't know what they were getting into, because who would wear heels to go work in go die in a death camp? And so it really shows how these people were fabricated and lied to, only saying, oh, they would be going to work. And they just ended up being killed. And so
they were just swept off the street by the armies, by Hitler's armies, and placed into the Holocaust.
Either that, or they were lied to, and the whole Holocaust was sugar-coated. And another thing about sugar-coating, when the Red Cross would come and inspect the camps, they would wash them up beautifully. They would make it look like everyone was having fun. They would give, about a month prior to when the Red Cross would visit, they would give the workers food and lots of drink and stuff to kind of give them pounds, because the life expectancy in a Holocaust, in a death camp or a concentration camp, was 275 days. You weren't even going to make it a year, and that's because they didn't feed you, you barely bathed, you never had enough to drink, and you basically didn't have all the basic human necessities that we as people take for granted nowadays. And so they would clean them up, and so that's why a lot of the world during this period was lied to. And only until it was too late did we realize what was happening, because either a lot of stuff wasn't broadcasted, or only the good stuff was broadcasted, and it would just be lies. When we would see people smiling and just skipping along, these people were grieving the death of their children who were just thrown into furnaces because they were marked incapable of work. And so a lot of the world was really lied to, and that's why so many people died, because there were African Americans there were Slavs and Gypsies and Jews mainly. And so anybody who didn't fit Hitler's criterion, like I said in the last segment, the Aryan race, which isn't really a race, but that's what we say today, the Aryan race, if you weren't the Aryan race, you weren't coming out alive. But there was another way that a lot of people did manage to survive. Well, not a lot, but a fraction of people did manage to survive the Holocaust. They would get on boats and sail to different countries. And there's a story, that's not really a story, but a famous incident where people got these fake passports, and they sailed from Germany to Cuba. And at first Cuba was going to let them in, but then Cuba changed their mind and did not let them in. So they sailed around the sea, not wanting to go back to Germany, and everyone on the boat perished. And so all these people, and unless you had connections in America, then you could get out if you got a fake passport, you flew over there. And that's how a couple families didn't manage to get out of the Holocaust. But besides that, it was a death sentence. There was no way you could escape Nazi Germany. And
so in a real sense, Alana, you were able to get a real experience from your visit to the Holocaust Museum, and you would advise and encourage everybody else to do the same.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say?
And I forgot to mention, the first floor and the very last floor of the Holocaust Museum says the Hall of Remembrance, and there's an everlasting fire, and it's always reminding you to remember.
And of course, let me encourage you to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments.